When Qatar's emir landed in Tehran last year, inside the capital of Israel's most bitter enemy, his plane was carrying something nobody was supposed to notice: an Israeli-made missile defense system, built by Elbit Systems, installed years earlier, while the plane sat in a hangar in Switzerland. Qatar has no embassy in Tel Aviv, no peace treaty, no public relationship with Israel at all. Saudi Arabia doesn't either. And yet, according to a new Haaretz investigation, both countries have been quietly running on Israeli technology for years. Missile defense on royal jets, combat helmets on fighter pilots, night vision built by companies headquartered an hour from Tel Aviv. This isn't a normalization deal. Nobody signed anything at the White House. This is something else, a shadow layer of defense cooperation. It exists underneath the diplomacy, invisible until someone starts photographing the undersides of airplanes. Today, we're breaking down exactly what was sold, how it got there without anyone admitting it, and why this story matters far beyond Doha and Riyadh. Because it's a preview of how Gulf security architecture actually works in 2026. Let's start with what investigators actually found. Qatar's royal family operates a fleet of 11 aircraft, a mix of Boeing 747s and an Airbus A340-500. According to photographs, 3 of those planes have Elbit Systems' C music system installed on them. In Israel, it's called Magen Rakia, Sky Shield. Here's what C music actually does. It's a directed infrared countermeasure system that uses radar to detect incoming heat-seeking missiles. It fires a targeted laser at the missile's guidance sensor to throw it off course. It doesn't shoot the missile down, it blinds it. This is the same system installed on Israel's own prime ministerial aircraft, the Wings of Zion. It's also flown on the French presidential plane. The installations happened between 2020 and 2022, while the aircraft were undergoing maintenance in Basel, Switzerland, a neutral third country, which is exactly the kind of arrangement that lets both governments maintain public deniability. And here's the detail that makes this story. One of the 3 planes is the same aircraft that carried Emir Tamim to Tehran last year. Doha's closest regional partnership, with the government Israel considers its primary existential threat, was, quite literally, flying protected by Israeli technology. It is one of the most sophisticated fighter jets in the world, the centerpiece of a multi-billion-dollar defense agreement between the United States and the state of Qatar. The F-15QA Ababil represents the pinnacle of aerial dominance. On the surface, this is a standard deal between Boeing and a Gulf ally. But beneath the polished wings of these jets lies a secret: a complex web of Israeli subcontracts totaling over $250 million. To understand how this works, we have to look at the corporate hierarchy. Boeing stands as the prime contractor, the American face of the deal. But the vital organs of the aircraft come from elsewhere. Israeli defense giants like Elbit Systems, Cyclone, and Israel Aerospace Industries, or IAI, are the silent partners. They provide the critical technology that makes these jets lethal, despite the lack of formal ties between Jerusalem and Doha. The most significant piece of this technological puzzle is the JHMCS, the Joint Helmet-Mounted Cueing System. This advanced visor allows a pilot to lock onto targets simply by looking at them, synchronizing the aircraft's sensors with the pilot's vision. The scale is massive. 160 of these advanced helmets were sold to Qatar. Even more striking is the order from Saudi Arabia: 462 sets, all powered by Israeli engineering. But how does an Israeli firm sell to a nation that officially doesn't recognize it? Enter the Washington loophole. It is a diplomatic workaround that allows these high-stakes transactions to happen in the shadows. Israel sells the technology to the United States. The U.S. then integrates it and re-exports the finished product to the Gulf. This provides Doha and Riyadh with the political cover to maintain their no-direct-deal stance. However, this clandestine cooperation has created a political powder keg. While the world watches Saudi Arabia move slowly toward normalization, the relationship with Qatar is far more radioactive due to its ties with Hamas. This leads us to the Qatargate scandal. At the center is Major General Yoav Poli Mordecai and his company, Novard. His dual role has raised serious questions about ethics and national security. Investigations revealed that while Mordecai was serving on sensitive hostage negotiation teams, his company was allegedly collecting brokerage fees from Elbit sales to Qatar. a profound conflict of interest that has shocked the defense establishment. As we look to the future, the geopolitical landscape post-October 7th is shifting. The secret supply chains that once operated in the dark are now under the harsh light of public and political scrutiny. Can these clandestine relationships survive the new reality of the Middle East? Or will the political fallout finally force these hidden deals out into the open, changing the nature of regional defense forever? So this isn't just Israel quietly sells gear to a country it doesn't recognize. It's the same defense company selling protective equipment to Qatar's royal family is tied, through an intermediary, to a person who was simultaneously negotiating hostage releases with the group Qatar has been accused of bankrolling. That's the collision making this story combustible right now. Step back from the scandal angle, and there's a bigger geopolitical story here, one that connects directly to the Red Sea and East Africa. Gulf monarchies have spent the last decade building defense postures that don't map cleanly onto public alliances. Qatar hosts a massive U.S. military base at Al Udeid, maintains a warm relationship with Iran, and funds various political movements. And, it turns out, flies protected by Israeli missile defense technology. Saudi Arabia fights a costly war on its southern border and hedges between Washington and Beijing on infrastructure and tech. Simultaneously, they operate F-15 fleets loaded with Israeli-built helmets and night vision gear. None of that is contradictory once you understand how Gulf states actually operate. They buy security wherever it's technically superior. They let public diplomacy lag behind actual defense integration. That's the same logic driving Gulf involvement across the Horn of Africa. UAE and Saudi basing along the Red Sea coast, Qatari mediation in Somalia and Sudan, and now this, Israeli hardware sitting quietly inside two air forces that don't officially know Israel exists. For anyone tracking the Red Sea corridor, this is a preview. The region's real security map is not drawn by embassies. It's drawn by supply chains, subcontracts, and people installing laser countermeasure systems in a Swiss hangar, never talking about it again. So where does this go from here? The recent reports don't accuse either government of a crime. None of this is illegal under arms law. But it does something more damaging politically. It strips away the fiction that Qatar and Saudi Arabia have no functional relationship with Israel. Watch what happens next in the Qatargate investigation. That's the thread most likely to produce real fallout inside Israel. And watch whether Doha or Riyadh issue any denial at all. Silence, in this region, usually means the reporting was accurate. If you want to understand how Gulf money and security decisions are reshaping the Red Sea corridor, that's what this channel covers. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.